Okay, we now have just about everything soldered. We put a little bit of flux on here. Get these back into place. That's good. And that's all the soldering we're doing here, folks. We have the diode soldered to the old hook up there. These two wires have been put back into place. The diode's in place. Now it's time to hook this up and see if we can find a whistle tender that will respond to the new diode. So let's plug in this transformer with the new plug. Let's get a piece of track. Here's a new piece of track. Let's connect some alligator clips to the U post and the A post. And then let's connect the A post to the center rail, and the U post is a ground. So put that there. Next step is to find here's a 2046 whistle tender that last time I used it was. Now that I've got the alligator clips on correctly, let's got the juice up. Perfect. Okay, so now we have a perfectly functioning rectifier diode in place. But the next thing that we're going to tackle is to get a new circuit breaker in place, and then we'll seal things up. Now we're getting ready to put on the circuit breaker. We have a Bussmann 6 amp 12 volt resetting thermal breaker. These are parts that break off depending upon how deep you want to keep it. I'm going to break off the top parts. I'd like to leave something left on. We can just break this off here. That comes off there. And that comes off there. So now I'm going to solder two wires. This wire here from the old circuit breaker is going to go on this right post. I have a second wire. This is 16 gauge wire. I'm going to run this from the other post of the breaker onto the B post of the transformer. This is the UABC. This is the B post right here. So simply solder there and solder here, and then the breaker itself I will silicone glue onto the base here so it stays in place. So this is a rather simple thing that just involves soldering. I'm also going to then cover with the shrink wrap, shrink insulation, the connection to these two forks so that there's no possibility of any type of short circuit going forward. So once these are on, I will put some heat from a blow dryer basically onto this, and then once the heat dissipates, the breaker will reset and we should have a running, functioning transformer. So let me do those soldering items first and then come back to you. Soldering. Okay. Notice how we've taken the circuit breaker wire off of the aftermarket circuit breaker that was here, and we connected that to one fork of the Bussmann thermal breaker. We've also covered it in shrink wrap, which we've used a simple hairdryer on to shrink it around. The second wire, I took a 16 gauge wire so that itself would not generate a whole lot of heat, and connected that to the other prong of the circuit breaker and up to the B post. Now here we are at the finish line. We've got a new power cord in place. We have our diode for the whistle. That's in place as well. We have a new thermal circuit breaker in place. Now let's put everything back together. We've cleaned up the casing, so it looks really quite nice at this point. And again, we have the knot and the cord. So we're going to put all this down and in place and hope everything fits nicely in there. Get this where it belongs. There, their cord goes there. Everything is seated appropriately. We have shined up the screws so that they're, let's get this seated really nice and tight. So the screw goes in. That's good. That's down better. Okay. All right, the screws are all in. Now let's tighten them now that all four are in place so that the case is seated correctly. There's two. There's three. And there's four. Now we put the binding post nuts on. There's one, two, three, and I think there's a little bit of metal polish still on this binding post nut, and let's get a toothpick to clean that out. There we go. That looks better. Alrighty. Now let's put the handles on. The orange handle goes on the left. The black handle at 90 degrees goes on the right. And there, ladies and gentlemen, look at that beautiful, shiny, restored 1033 Lionel transformer. Now the proof is in the pudding. Let's see how well this particular unit performs. Let's get our alligator clips in place. Ground to the outside. Hot wire to the center rail. The ground is the U-clip, the U-post there, and we'll use the A-post for the power. Let's plug this in. And let's put a whistle tender on the test track to see how we're doing here. Let's hope all goes well. Turn up the juice. Well, folks, I don't think you could ask for better.